here at BSN Network. Here today, we welcome you back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, July 20th. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend, is having a good day so far today. I know I am. A full weekend of baseball was on slate. We had Saturday night baseball, we had Sunday night baseball, and then tonight we got some good old Monday night baseball for the New York Yankees and the New York Mets. I was very excited to see baseball back, even though it was expedition. It didn't feel like expedition. It didn't feel like an expedition game. It didn't. It did not feel like that at all. It felt like a regular old game because, it's like the first game back. You're so hyped to watch. You're like, okay, in the end, Judge hit 2 home runs. Big game by Judge. Stanton had a bomb into the bleachers. I mean, there was some absolutely big, huge hits that each of those guys hit. And it was unreal what they did yesterday in that game. We got the Yankees and the Mets / the MLB. We're going to be talking about the Yankees and the Mets today for a good amount of time. A very long time. There's a ton of news to talk about on them. And we got the Nets Mount Rushmore and NFL training camp dates. I'm only going to get to that if I have enough time, because I'm assuming this topic will probably take a good amount of time. And I also assume the Nets Mount Rushmore will take a good amount of time. If we're sitting at like 50 minutes by the end of the Nets Mount Rushmore, I'm going to leave that training camp date to tomorrow. We'll probably still talk about it today, because an hour podcast isn't bad. An hour podcast is not bad. Anyway, let's get right into this though, because we got to get into this today. So let's get right into it. This is the BSN Arc podcast today. So the MLB is technically it's back. Technically Thursday night kicks the whole season back off. Technically Thursday night's the big start into the 60-game sprint. But you can say that Saturday and Sunday and today, and I think the last expedition game that will be played is Wednesday. I think Wednesday, and then the team, or maybe it's Tuesday. Because I know each team is different, because some teams play on Thursday, 2 teams play on Thursday. I think the rest of the league plays on Friday. Maybe some teams play their first game on Saturday. I'm not 100%. I would have to go and look back at that. But I'll tell you one thing. Watching baseball for the first time again was unreal. I mean, it was amazing. I gotta admit, out of these baseball games I watched, these have been one of the most enjoyable baseball games I've ever watched, because I haven't seen it in a long time. It's almost like when you don't eat something in a long time and you eat it now, it's almost like you really enjoyed it. Or, it's almost like, for example, like if you have a dinner or a meal, any other meal, lunch, breakfast, or dinner, and you eat it a lot, sometimes you get tired of it and it just kind of tastes like, okay, this is the same exact thing. If you get it new, you eat a meal for the first time, it's completely different. You're like, oh my gosh, this is completely different. This tastes really good. But that's almost what baseball was like. It was like, yes, you see, sometimes when you watch baseball over and over and over again, it's almost like the same exact thing. It is the same sport. I mean, they didn't change much except in the extra innings putting the runner on second, which I don't know how much I agree with that. I have my different opinions on that. I definitely do think it could definitely speed up extra innings. Extra innings could very well not be going into the 17th inning anymore. It could possibly only go 10, 11, you might see. Because you think a single could score that runner. One little bloop single could score that runner, and that could make the difference in the game. I'm not a huge fan of it. I would say if you're going to do that, you got to give them 1 out. At least 1 out. Second base, no outs. It's kind of difficult. I mean, a little single could score that runner, and that's the game. Like, you might see a lot more blown saves now with that new rule they added. You might see a lot more blown saves. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it either. I really wouldn't be. As a matter of fact, I'm actually probably expecting it. I'm actually expecting a lot more blown saves than last year and the years past, right? I'm expecting a lot more blown saves because of that, because of that whole new rule and that whole new thing with the guy. And everybody has a different opinion on it. To be honest, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of it. I just, with this whole 60-game thing, I just wanted baseball to be as similar as it could possibly be. So The Mets and Yankees played. Saturday night they played. Frazier had a big home run. The Yankees won 9-3. Frazier had a huge home run, a monster shot into the second deck at Citi Field. Into the second deck. It was unreal. Just to go around the MLB as well, the Phillies, they played. They had a huge monster shot. Home run. Two monster shots. Off of Max Scherzer, by the way. Off of Max Scherzer. And I like Scherzer. I like Max Scherzer, although I won't like him Thursday when he plays against the Yankees. I won't like him then, but I like Scherzer. But to be honest, that is not a good preview for him. If you didn't see it, Didi hit a home run off of him, and Bryce Harper both hit home runs off of him. So, Max Scherzer, I like him, but come Thursday, I'm not going to like him. I mean, I will like him I'm not going to root for him on Thursday, obviously, because the Yankees play him. But to be honest, he did not look good. He was hanging, his off speed didn't look good. His fastballs, he let up a lot of runs. He let up a lot of good home runs, too. He let up a lot of hard hits. I don't know. Scherzer didn't look great. Could that mean something? I'm not going to say anything because it is just exhibition baseball. And, you could say Montgomery looks like a Cy Young winner after his performance yesterday. So, you really can't get into it. Because, like I said, it was very fun to watch. And to be honest, I was really, really rooting for the Yankees to win. Sometimes in spring training, you'll watch the game. If your team loses, so be it. Your team lost. Oh, well, it means absolutely nothing for the season. It means absolutely nothing. Oh, great, we lost our fourth spring training game. That's going to decide the World Series. No. But, it was different type because you haven't seen baseball since March. You haven't seen baseball since that. So it was almost like when the first game was on, it was almost like, oh my gosh, I actually gather around the TV. Those exhibition games might have got the highest ratings for a game for spring training expedition games. I'm not even kidding. ESPN had it. ESPN literally held some of those games. That's how big it was to have baseball back. It's not it's true though. It's so crazy to me. That's how big baseball is coming back. That's how big people want it to be. Is they want it to come back. That's how much they put it on ESPN. It was a spring training game. You don't see spring training games usually on ESPN. You might see a couple, but to see them back to back tonight, you'll probably see another one. I'm sure you'll see another one tomorrow. I'll tell you what, man. I've said this about 20 times, 25 times on my podcast. I'm not even kidding. We should go back and see how many times I've actually said it. This is baseball's chance, people. I'm sure there was a lot of non-baseball fans watching games the past 2 days on ESPN. I'm sure there were. I would love to know the ratings. I would love to know them. Because I bet you these actually got probably the highest ratings for a spring training game in a while. Right, and I don't think that's an outrageous statement because you know how everything goes, right? The XFL first week got huge ratings. AAF first week got huge ratings. Then they started to downfall a little bit. The AAF first week was up here, then it went all the way down here. The XFL first week it was here, then it was here, then it was here, then it was here. It kind of stayed there, stayed, and then it was and then the season obviously got paused. But it's almost like that, right? Baseball, for example. You might see the first game back Saturday, the ratings are going to be up here. You see what it's all about, right? That's what's going to be with the NBA bubble, too. A lot of ratings are going to be on that first game. You're going to see what it's all about, what it looks like with no fans, how are the players, refs, things like that, what do the courts look like, arenas, all that. It's going to be up here. Then after you see maybe the first two games, okay, I see what it's about. It's just a regular old basketball game. You might see them downfall a little bit back to their normal. Same thing with spring training baseball. Now, I'm not going to stop watching it. I was definitely wanted to watch that Saturday game. I watched Sunday game. If you all know, I do the book for the Yankees games. I do the book, so I kind of have. I do the book, so I do the book. If you don't know what the book is, it's like a stat thing. I have it right here on my desk. I'm going to read through some of the stats that both the Mets and Yankees had. So I do the book and stuff for the games. So I was doing the book for Saturday and Sunday game, and I'm going to do it again tonight for the Phillies game. But, it was almost that first Saturday game, I wanted to know what it was like, right? I wanted to know, what it was like. What was the whole, what was it all about? What was... this whole artificial crowd noise inside the stadium. It's not artificial crowd noise in the broadcast. It's artificial crowd noise inside of the stadium. It's I know some teams are, soccer, for example, they're putting out artificial crowd noise pumping it through the TV so you as a fan can hear it. I've heard it before. It sounds very realistic, but the players at the actual game, they can't. For the MLB, in that situation, they can hear it. It's in the stadium. Fans can watching at home, but it's not really as clear. But they took actually from the video game, MLB The Show. They took from the video game, MLB The Show, and they filtered it in, and it sounded good. Everybody's gonna be a little rusty. Even I was watching on the S Network. There was a couple times where there was a couple times where they were a little slow to get the pitch count or the ball or a strike back up. There was a couple times where they were behind a pitch. There was a couple times where they were a little late to put up the scoreboard. There was a couple times there would be like 2 outs in the inning, and then finally the scoreboard would go up. Everybody, like I said, everybody's getting back to it. Everything's gonna be a little rusty. At first that PS4, that MLB The Show sound, it's a video game. That sound is not gonna be, it's not gonna be perfect the first time. So, you gotta expect to make some, errors. Nobody's perfect, so you gotta expect to make some difficult errors, but overall, all in all, to be honest, baseball is a sport to me that doesn't need crowd noise that much. Like to be honest, baseball is a sport to me that I don't need to really hear crowd noise. Am I right? Because I like hearing that crack of the bat. I like hearing the players slide in the bases. I like hearing the glove smack. I do. I know some people really dislike not having fans in the stadium, and the Mets actually put cardboard cutouts behind home plate. Yankees didn't. I don't know. Cardboard cutouts are not bad. I think they're a little corny in a way. Like cardboard cutouts, I don't know. Just I would just say leave it normal. I don't know. I mean, it's not that it's bad. It's just it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just I don't know. I just don't think it's cardboard. Okay, you really can't go without seeing cardboard. I don't know. I do like the artificial crowd noise being pumped in the stadium because the players too. They might get a little there's no enthusiasm in this game. You see all these commercials. Like baseball's back. They show all these playoff videos of teams, crowd and all that. Baseball's all back. But in reality, you're playing with no fans. And I think that's the whole goal, is to try to get fans into the stadium by at least the end of this year into the playoffs. I think a lot of people's goal is to try to get fans into the playoffs. If your team makes the playoffs, you kind of want fans in the playoffs. I think that's your whole goal. At least 20 to 30% field capacity into the playoffs. I don't think that's outrageous to do. I think you got to get a couple fans in there. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a whole stadium's worth of fans. That should actually not be the case. It only has to be a couple fans here and there, Okay, 6 feet, wear a mask. If it means wear a mask to a baseball game, it means wear a mask to a baseball game. That's what it means. So, but the good news is, stop thinking about that stuff. The good news is baseball is back. And like I said, there's a lot of things to, obviously, there's a lot of things that are going to lead up into the opening day. I'm sure there will be a couple different things than what we see right now. Supposedly, on opening day, they will not be changing umpires. They did change umpires they've been changing umpires through the games because, everybody's coming back. They're all trying to get the umpires reps as well. I think it's 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 2 off. So it's the home plate umpire switches, I think. I think it's the home plate umpire switch. So there's 3 innings of one home plate umpire, 3 of the other, and then 3 of the other. So I'm assuming it's the first inning to the third to the sixth to the ninth inning, I would say, right? It's 3 innings for each umpire. To be honest, I don't like that. I hope they don't do that for opening day. I don't think they should. I think what they're trying to do is to get the umpires reps. I don't like it. as a player, I wouldn't like it because, through the game, and this is me too as a baseball player, through the games, you adjust to the umpire strike zone. Like, you realize, okay, he's calling the outside corner, okay? He's calling a bit higher on me, all right? He's calling, lower. He's calling the inside pitch. I got to protect that outside on 0-2 count, right? If you're calling that, you have to adjust to that. If you have 3 different umpires, okay, finally, all right, I finally adjusted the first one, and now the new one's coming in. You're like, okay, great, what's this guy's strike zone? Then you finally adjust to that guy, and another one comes in. Like, that's why you might see more guys striking out than you usually see, because they're still trying to adjust to the strike zone. They're also a little rusty. It's also, they're going to be their first time back, so they're also going to be a little rusty. I would say, like I said, I think it is a very good idea to put the umpires. I think it's a good idea to make them get different reps and reps and reps. But in a way, I don't think it is either. Because I think it's a good idea to get them reps, but also, the players, I'm sure, probably don't like it as much. Because you got to realize they're the ones that are, obviously trying to adjust to each strike zone. And I have my preferred umpires. I dislike umpires. Not that I go up to a guy and be like, I dislike you as an umpire. There will be games I play. I don't like the umpire strike zone at all. Either that's at my pitch, because I'm a pitcher. Either that's pitching. Either that's hitting. Either that's both. Sometimes umpires with bigger strike zones, they're good for pitching. They're bad for hitting. Right? As a hitter, I don't like a strike zone, but I go out there and pitch. It helps. Because maybe that called strike that maybe that pitch that I actually accidentally left upstairs maybe is a called a strike. Maybe that pitch I skimmed the corner is a called strike because he has a bigger strike zone. But then as a batter, a pitch that might be a little higher on you is called a strike, and you're like, how in the world am I supposed to hit that? So in a way, I see where the players are coming from. You could tell some players were showing frustration, with the strikeouts because, it's tough. For example, Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil had one. He had one at-bat. He's the leadoff hitter, too, against that one umpire. Then he had another at-bat against the other umpire. Then another at-bat against the other umpire. And then another at-bat against the other. You see here. He's not able to really... As a leadoff hitter, it's very hard. A leadoff hitter you're going up there with absolutely no information, in a way, as a leadoff hitter. You're kind of going up there being like, all right, I'm just going to test this guy out, see what he's throwing. As the leadoff hitter, you're going up there with absolutely no information. You don't know how fast he's throwing. You don't know what his off-speed looks like. Maybe you do from watching film. But that day, you don't know what the umpire strike zone is. As a leadoff hitter, you're going up there just, I'm taking one for the team technically. Because, my leadoff hitter on my baseball team, every time he comes back in the dugout, he'll tell you what he's throwing, how fast he's throwing, where he's throwing on lefties and righties, what the umpire strike zone is. He doesn't know that going up there, but for me, I do. When I go up to bat, I take what he said, and I'm like, all right, great. All right, great. That's good. But like I said, it is everybody's getting back to normal. It's getting used to it, and like I said, watching those baseball games on Saturday and Sunday were the most normal thing that has really been within the past 4 months. That is one of the most normal things. That brought back in a sign of like, okay, maybe we can actually get this. That really did. I don't think the baseball season's stopping at this point. I know there was some doubt, but the cases, they're doing so well. And I know every case is bad. And I'm not trying to say that, it's great that, somebody. I'm saying, like, the cases is still below 1%. There was, 6 new positive cases after they tested. I have, 3,000 people they tested. It's unreal. And here I thought, it's unreal. 6 positive cases may seem like a lot. It's not that much, people. There's some teams that still don't have a positive case. I'm pretty sure in the NBA, each team has a positive case. I'm sure at least each team, I think, might have a positive case. The NBA bubble, that's a different story, different day. You know how I feel about that. But I'm telling you, man, the MLB, for what happened, for how much they were not able to come to an agreement, and it always happens. It's almost like it's going to happen to the NFL, too. It's almost like it's going to happen to the NFL, too. It's almost like it's going to happen to the NFL, too. It's almost like it's going to happen to the NFL. But it's going to happen to them. Because they're having a tough time negotiating now, too. The NFL is having a very tough time, as a matter of fact, negotiating. But now, since they're having a tough time, they're going to probably succeed. That happens a lot, it seems like. So with all that being said, the Mets and Yankees did play a baseball game Saturday and Sunday, and tonight the Yankees play the Phillies. So let's run through some of the stats. I'm going to probably just go through the whole game very quickly. Some of the highlights, some of the things. So Corey Oswalt got the start for the Mets. Jordan Montgomery got the start for the Yankees. Great start for him. I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see what he does this year. Coming off of Tommy John, you can make the argument he was one of the best rookie pitchers in the league until he got Tommy John, and now he's really coming back. I love Jordan Montgomery. I really believe he's one of the most underrated pitchers, underrated players in the league right now. Not many people talk about him, his Tommy John injury, and he's one of the rare occasions where he comes back from Tommy John and actually pitches harder than before Tommy John. So, that's great. But here we go. So first off, we got Jeff McNeil. He's grounded out to a quick 3-1. So Alonso got the ball, flipped it on over to the pitcher. That is in our scorebook counted as a 3-1. Then Alonso struck out swinging. Cano, man, he struck out swinging. I don't know if you guys don't see this with Cano. Oh my gosh, he is so lazy. Have you seen his swing? It's probably, and I'm telling you, it's so weird because he was unreal with the Yankees, unreal with the Mariners. Then after he got tested for steroids, and after he got the test, whatever, came back positive. I don't know if you call it a steroid test that comes back positive. After he found out he was taking PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, after he found out he was doing that, he came with the Mets. Now he's just not Robinson Cano. And I would hate to say this because I'm a Yankees fan. It would stink to have a Yankees player take steroids, but he might have been taking steroids with the Yankees people. That's what they're trying to do. The MLB, they're trying to do random testing. Not where they're like, oh, okay, not they're trying to do random testing. So if you're taking them one day and you get tested in next, oh no, you're done. You're shot. You're 80 games. You're out of here. If somebody actually does get suspended for PEDs this season, usually that's 80 games. You won't play one game this season. You wouldn't play one game this season. But it's crazy. So Cano, man, but yeah, you see his swing. He was like this. He was just like this. He was just swinging away up there, he's swinging at a ball in the dirt. Like, what are you doing? And in the next at bat, I remember talking to people. I was like, oh, geez. What is this? What is he gonna do? Strike out now? And of course, he hit a single. I said it too. I called it. He's gonna hit a single. He's gonna get a hit now because we're talking bad about him. It's just, it's so dumb. But like I said, not that I dislike Cano. It's not that I dislike him. It's just that you could tell he was taking something. So you could tell he was definitely taking something, whatever that was. So then next up we had the Yankees. LeMahieu, first game back. Grounded out from the virus, grounded out into a 1-3. It was a hard ground ball right back to the pitcher. Very hard hit. Pitcher doesn't knock that down. That's a single right up the middle. Flipped it back over to the first baseman. Then Judge hit a home run, a nice long home run, 401 feet. 100.1 was the exit velocity, miles an hour. It was really good. It was a very good shot. It was a very hard line drive. It wasn't one of those towering bombs. It was a very good shot, though. Judge takes that. Then Torres had a single. Then Stanton struck out swinging. Not a very good pitch, and I don't know why they're doing this. It was an outside pitch on Stanton. Stan swung. It was kind of out of his shoes. I like Stan a lot. You got to give him a chance. He's been injured a lot. You got to give him a chance. Hopefully this year he's motivated to play all 60 games. Struck out swinging, outside pitch. Don't agree with him swinging at that. Then Hicks grounded into a little old 4-3. Cano to Alonso for the putout. After that inning, there was one man left on base, and Judge hit a home run. After that inning, it was 1 run, 2 hits, no errors, 1 left on base, and 1 earned run for the Yankees. Coming after that, next up was Sanchez and Iannetta. I'll just go through each team's stats, and I'll go through the Mets stats because it's hard to just flip back and forth. Then Sanchez I'm doing yesterday's because Saturday, probably a lot of people already know all what happened, so that's already 2 days old. So we'll just talk about yesterday's stats. Then Sanchez struck out looking. Voit got on base with a walk. Gardner hit a nice hard single. And then Duffy, who's been struggling a little bit in the field, he made that little error, he booted that ball, struck out looking the worst of them all. Striking out looking is not good at all. I'd rather you strike out swinging than strike out looking. Then LeMahieu grounded into another hard hit, 6-3. 6-3. That was 6-3. Grounded into a 6-3. So then next up, we had Judge flew out, had a pop up to third. So, pop up to, not third, pop up to the, Alonso had a little fly out to Alonso. I put F3, fly out, whatever you want to call it, it's just really the same thing. Then Torres reached on an E4, a booted ball by Cano made actually a great play on the ball. Then just out, once again, the laziness kicking in, literally wasn't even looking, just throws it sidearm over Alonso. Alonso's had a tough time over there. He had the Cano throw yesterday, and on Saturday, he had those two bad throws by, what's his name? Forget his name. I think it was Moroff. Yeah, he had those two overthrows in a row by Moroff, a guy who's trying to make a spot on his team. But Alonso, he can't do anything about it, but he's definitely had a little tough time. That's 3 pass balls there already. Then Stan grounded out into a 6-3. Then Hicks had a ground ball right to Alonso. That Alonso took it himself, stepped on the bag. Then Sanchez hit a moonshot home run into the second deck to start the third inning. Then Voit had a walk. Then Gardner had a double down the right field line, or down the left field line. A little Oppo Taco action for Gardner. Then Duffy struck out again swinging. At least it was swinging this time. Then LeMahieu struck out swinging. Then Judge flew out to the second baseman in Cano. Starting off the fourth inning, Torres grounded out into a 5-3 right through the third baseman, right on over to Alonso. Then Stan struck out swinging again. Then Hicks had a walk. Hicks worked a walk. Then Sanchez flew out to the right to the center fielder. Voit, that ended the inning. Then this inning started off with Voit. Voit hit a nice hard hit home run. Then Gardner had a walk. Then he got a line out. So what happened here is Gardner was, I've had this happen to me before. So Gardner was coming off of first. It was a line drive by Duffy, a nice hard hit line drive by Duffy. Got Duffy out, line out to Duffy, to Alonso. Then Alonso stepped right on the bag because, Gardner can't do anything about that. That turned into a double play. But then next up, then you had LeMahieu, or Estrada looked like, or some, LeMahieu or Estrada, because LeMahieu only had 2 at-bats, then it was Estrada. So Estrada struck out. Then he had a single. Then Judge hits another boom shot. Second home run of the game for Judge. That would end up being his final at-bat of the game, as he would not get up again. Towering shot for Judge. Judge hits a home run. Then Torres flew out to center field to end the inning. Then next up we had the Stanton home run. Long shot again all the way up in the bleachers. That was on a 1-1 count. Beautiful pitch. Stanton just connected on it, head on the ball. Great hit there by Stanton. Then you had Florial fly out to the right fielder. Then Voit grounded into, or Iannetta, I think this actually was now, grounded into, or no, maybe it was actually Sanchez. I'm not sure. It looks like it was Sanchez here. He grounded out into a 5-3. Third baseman right on over to Alonso. Then Voit had a K looking. It was a bad call in my opinion. It was low. Not going to blame it on the umpires though. Voit, obviously, if it was close enough, he should have swung there. Then Andujar came up. Andujar came in, I'm pretty sure, and then he flew out right to the second baseman in Cano. Then Duffy struck out swinging again. He got the golden sombrero. That's 3 Ks for Duffy. Then Estrada grounded out into a 3-1. Alonso flips it on over to the pitcher. It steps on the bag. like I said, Duffy struggled. Duffy definitely struggled. I would not say he's going to be their everyday player. A lot of people are saying he's bad, he's got to go, and I agree. He's not that good. I mean, he was kind of one of those guys that we're just testing out just to see. One of those guys, it's just like an insurance policy, right? We can trade him down the road. Then go into the Mets here, then we'll get into the Nets. The Nets, Mount Rushmore. So Cespedes who was playing his left field in his first game. The Nets actually took what I said, and not really, but the Nets actually took what I said, and they did what they did. They went on. Cespedes 6-3 ground ball. So Cespedes went to a 6-3 ground out to the shortstop and right on over to Voit at first. Then Conforto had a walk. Or maybe that was not a walk. Maybe that was just a hard ground ball back to the pitcher. Then it was J.D. Davis struck out swinging. I'll tell you what, players have been making it easy on me this year writing Ks. So a strikeout swinging is a regular K. A strikeout looking is a backwards K. I've only had to write like 3 backwards Ks through 2 games. Some games I'm writing backwards Ks left and right, backwards Ks, backward Ks. And, they're not the hardest thing in the world, but it's definitely much easier just to write a forward K. So then Rosario to start off the 3rd inning, struck out swinging. Then Nimmo grounded out. Rivera grounded out. Rene Rivera grounded out. To start off the 4th inning, McNeil struck out swinging. Alonso struck out swinging. Cano hit a ground ball, a single, right through the first base side into that little gap. Then Cespedes flew out to Judge in right field. Then that ended the inning. Conforto grounded out. J.D. Davis flew out to Hicks in center. You had Rosario had a nice double down the line. Then Nimmo grounded out right back to the pitcher, went right to first base. Then there was an E5. There was an E5 here by there was an E5 on there was an E5 here. So it was an error on Duffy. This was the booted ball that he ended up going to third here on this. So then you had that. Then you had a strikeout swinging, and Alonso had a 6-3 grounded out right to the shortstop, right over to Voit. Then Cano flew out to Judge in right field. That actually looked like it was going to be a home run. That was keep on flying. It was tailing. And then Judge caught on the warning track. Then Conforto flew out to Judge again in right field. Judge getting a lot of action here. Then, who was that? Oh, no, that was Cespedes flew out to him. Then it was Conforto who grounded out back to the pitcher, right over to Voit. Then it was J.D. Davis who grounded out. He had a ground out. It was a 5-3 right over to Duffy onto first. Then Brandon Nimmo, Rosario's up. Rosario grounded. He got a single, and then Nimmo, and then he got thrown, and then it was a 4-6. So Nimmo then hit a fly out to left field and Gardner. Then it was an E6 on Rivera. It was E6 here. It was an E6. He got the first, but then so he reached on an E6. So Rene Rivera reached on an E6, or Sanchez reached on an E6. A different Sanchez, not the Yankee Sanchez. He reached on E6. So what happened was it was a 4-6. So Rosario was going to second. It was the second baseman flipped it over to the shortstop for the Yankees. Then he threw it on over. That was an E6 on the shortstop. That got away from Voit. He ended up staying there, but that was an E6 on him, and he got stopped there, just as a ruling. And then also that inning, there was a quick McNeil grounded into a play to Voit that he took it himself. Or Voit might have flipped it. I'm not sure. And then Alonso hit into a 4-3, grounded out. Then Cano struck out, and Cespedes struck out. They agreed to play the bottom of the 9th just to get some extra hits and some extra pitches in. I did not keep that. I did not do those stats because those are technically not the stats. Even the announcer said those stats that happened in this inning do not count. The pitchers for the Yankees were Jordan Montgomery, Jonathan Loaizaga, and Jonathan Holder. The pitchers for the Mets were Corey Oswalt, Hunter Strickland, Drew Smith, Chasen Shreve, and Seth Lugo. Corey Oswald struggled, to say the least. He struggled a little bit in that beginning of the game. His pitch count was very high. He started off the inning. His first inning was 21 pitches. Then he had 47 pitches. Then he ended with 58. He had a lot of pitches to start off that. He definitely had a good amount of pitches. Jason Shreve made his return back to Yankee Stadium, former Yankee. I'm sure a lot of Yankees fans know who Jason Shreve is. And that's kind of a recap for the game. So the Yankees won. The Yankees play the Phillies today. Why not go 3-0 in Expedition? Am I right? Why not go 3-0 in Expedition play? Then the Mets play tonight as well. Why not they go? They don't play actually tonight. Never mind, they do not play tonight. So they play Friday against the Braves. So the Mets, the Mets look like they are. Looks like the Mets are. The wait is on for them till opening day. I'm sure they'll have practice and stuff before that. But yeah. So Domingo Germán, obviously, he said he was going to retire. I don't know what happened there. I don't even it's so confusing. But anyway, so the Yankees, I say, why not go 3-0? I'll tell you what. Although I'll tell you one thing. The Phillies are a good team. Don't be surprised if they flip a quick one from the Yankees tonight. But why not give the Yankees a win? I predict the Yankees to win a lot, people. Just saying. I don't predict the Jets to win a lot because I'm confident in the Yankees. I believe the Yankees could be one of the best teams in the league. Obviously, definitely. One of the good things about baseball is it is coming back. I'm sure we should all be excited over baseball coming back. I mean, if you're not excited over baseball coming back and you're a baseball fan, then I don't know what baseball fan you are. I don't know what type of baseball fan you are. I don't know how you could be a baseball fan and be like, oh, baseball's coming back? Really? Ugh. Really? Baseball's coming back? If you are a baseball fan and you are a true baseball fan, you would be excited for baseball coming back. So, to be honest, like I said, the fans, it didn't bother me. Like, it didn't. I know some people are like, oh, they can't, without fans bothers me. No, it doesn't. Like, I like the sound of the crack of the bat. I like the sounds of baseball. I like the sounds of baseball. I like the sounds of the baseball hitting the bat, the crack of the bat. I like the sounds of the glove. I like the sound of a guy sliding into the base. I like the sound of a guy running down the bag and stepping on the bag with his foot. Like, I like those sounds. I don't know why. Some people don't. I guess it's just how people are. And I'm not mad at them, but, everybody has their own opinion on it. But I do feel like NFL, NBA, NHL even are going to have to pump in fake crowd noise. And MLB is one of the sports that I feel like they don't, because the crowd in the third inning isn't always on their feet screaming. At an NFL game, you could be in the third quarter and the crowd could be on their feet screaming, like the whole game, like third down, like every 5 minutes the crowd could be up on their feet. The MLB, that's not always the case. You could have a guy, you could go to an MLB game and not stand once. Unless if you're at a Yankees game and Judge is playing, you should be standing every time Judge comes up. But anyway, so that's what I got. Like I said, that was a very, very, very long segment there on the Yankees. I was going to do a Round of Diamond podcast yesterday, but with the schedule, I had a lot of baseball and stuff. It just couldn't come together. This Sunday, we'll be starting. I'll talk more about that towards the end of the week and stuff. But anyway, that is what I got for the Yankees top part of the show. Then we got the Nets coming up. I do not know if I'm going to do training camp dates. I might be doing it. I'm not sure, though. So, definitely a very interesting, thing there. But anyway, so obviously, we got the Nets Mount Rushmore. Today is Mount Rushmore Monday. Every Monday I do a Mount Rushmore. Every Monday I do a team's Mount Rushmore, whether that's an NBA team, in this instance, whether that's an MLB team, whether that's an NFL team, whether it's an NHL team. I do the four major sports that I talk about. I do the Mount Rushmore on it all. So, I'm doing the Nets Mount Rushmore today. My favorite basketball team. Next week, I will probably be doing the Knicks Mount Rushmore, and then I'll be doing the Rangers. I know the Rangers have been getting backed up. I don't know why. It's just with baseball going on, I've been kind of doing that. But today's the Nets Mount Rushmore. A lot of familiar faces for the Nets, greatest players of all time. So if you all know, I'm going to say it again because whoever is new to this channel, or if you're watching, you're new, I'm going to say it every Monday. I know I always say this, but I'm going to say it again, okay, people? This Mount Rushmore is obviously the thing in South Dakota. You got the 4 presidents. This is what I do. I give you the 4 greatest players from each team. So I'll give you the Nets today. I'm going to give you the 4 greatest players from the Nets franchise, in my opinion. And then I do one honorable mention because I just think it's fair. I think it's fair because I do think 4 players, there are a lot of good players that can be left out. So I do think it's fair. So the greatest players of all time. Here we go. Nets Mount Rushmore. And then I'll do one honorable mention as always, because there's some players that, they're debatable. You're like, okay, do I put this guy in or this guy? And you put the other guy and you're like, well, then I'm just going to leave this guy out. Usually the guy who's an honorable mention, in my opinion, is usually the guy that's battling for a spot. I usually don't just throw in a guy. So the Nets Mount Rushmore. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I did not put KD and Kyrie on the list. Here's my reasoning. I know some of you might think this is a little crazy, but I don't think this is. Okay, the Nets Mount Rushmore here. KD and Kyrie. KD has never played a game in a Nets uniform, so you can't call him a greatest Nets player of all time. Sure, you could put him on the Thunder. You could put him on the Thunder or the Warriors Mount Rushmore, but not the Nets. The Nets, he hasn't played a game. Kyrie has played a game, but he hasn't made it as big as the impacts of Jason Kidd, or I just spoiled it, as the guys I have on this list. That's all I'm going to say. I left him off the list. I know some people might think that's a little crazy to do. I don't think it is. I think that's a very reasonable thing to do. He hasn't played a game. That's almost like saying LeBron, when he got picked up by the Lakers, putting him on the Lakers Mount Rushmore. No, because he hasn't even played one game on the Lakers. You can't put him on the Lakers Mount Rushmore if he hasn't played one game on the Lakers Mount Rushmore. That would actually be very easy to do. Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kobe, Magic Johnson. I don't know if you would put LeBron on there. Maybe you put LeBron on there. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think I already said that. Shaq. Oh my gosh, that would be so easy. The Lakers would literally be so easy. I mean, what is there? 4 Lakers on my top 10 list. Kobe, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq, and LeBron. That's 4 of their Mount Rushmore. Then you just need like an honorable mention. I don't know. I mean, LeBron, I guess you could say. I mean, but he hasn't made as big of impacts as some of these other guys did on the Lakers. I mean, like his finals wins were on the Heat. His final wins were on the Cavs. He hasn't won. If he wins one this year with the Lakers, then I'll put him in because at least he has one final under the belt. But anyway, this is the Nets Mount Rushmore. So here, starting it off, we got Jason Kidd, point guard. And you could say he's the best point guard to go down in the history of the Nets. This guy was unreal. Jason Kidd was a fun player to watch. I watched him toward the tail end of his career, towards the tail end when he was, playing with the Knicks, bouncing around the league back in the early 2000s and early 2010s. I think 2013, 2014, 2000. He playing back then with the Knicks. I remember watching him. He was, he wasn't good with it. I mean, he was older. He was very old. He was tail end of his career. You know what players do it. Shaq did it. Shaq was good with the he has his prime with the Lakers. Then he bounced around Heat, Celtics, bounced around all over the place. Cavs. Then he started to bounce around all over the place because that's just what old players do. There's a very few amount of players that go and stay in the same league. Derek Jeter is one of the few players that don't play for another team in their career. Derek Jeter played with the Yankees his whole career. Even as he got older, even as he wasn't as good as Derek Jeter used to be, he still stayed with the Yankees. Same thing with Michael Jordan. I know he played with the Wizards, but that was coming out of retirement. Before retirement, he played with the Bulls his whole career. From the beginning to the point where he was getting older, he played with the Bulls his whole career. MJ's one of the guys that you will see towards the tail end of his career who's still so dominant. There's a lot of players. There's a lot of them, but they're not as much. There's definitely a lot of players that bounce around in the league. They'll go from this team. They'll be in this team for 10 years, and then they'll be like, okay, now let me bounce around. We're at this team for 2 years. This team for 1. This team for 1. Get traded this team in the same year. Then I'm on this team, right? Jason Kidd kind of did that towards the tail end of his career. You see a lot of the all-time greats, they don't move around that much. LeBron has been to 3 different teams. He was at the Cavs, the Heat, then the Cavs again. now the Lakers. Technically only 3 teams because he was with the Cavs twice, then the Heat, and now the Lakers. So technically only 3 teams because he was with the Cavs, the Heat, and the Lakers. And I think he'll end out his career with the Lakers. I don't think he's going to be with another team. I think he's going to finish out his career with the Lakers, as a matter of fact. Jason Kidd, I would not call an all-time great. I would not call him that. I would call him all-time great in the Nets. He was a good three-point shooter, good defender, very good drive and finish, good moves, good handles, good things like that. Jason Kidd, first one up on the Nets, Mount Rushmore. Next up, we got Vince Carter, the great Vince Carter, shooting guard. And I put him on the list. I know a lot of people will be like, "Oh, how in the world are you doing this? He's not a true Nets player. He's on the Raptors. If this was the Raptors Mount Rushmore, I would put him on the Raptors Mount Rushmore as well. You could put 2 players on the same. You could put LeBron on the Heat and the Cavs Mount Rushmore. You could put them on both. You don't have to put LeBron on just one Mount Rushmore. Multiple players could be on multiple Mount Rushmores. There could be. You could put multiple. Mount Rushmore is also all opinion, people. This isn't, this is all opinion. Technically, I could put Kyrie on the Nets Mount Rushmore. I wouldn't because he was good this season, but what significant impact has he made? He hasn't won a final, not an All-Star, not an MVP. Not that Jason Kidd and them were, but Jason Kidd got this team to the playoffs. Like Kyrie has not got this team to the playoffs. And don't say, "Oh, they make the playoffs this year." No, Kyrie has missed most of the season. I'm not trying to go down on Kyrie. I'm just saying, like, KD hasn't played one game in a Nets uniform. You can't call him an all-time great net. So Vince Carter played multiple games in a Nets uniform. Him and Jason Kidd together were unreal. You could say that you could make the argument where they were one of the best duos during that early 2000 time. They got that team to great playoffs. They got that team to great things. They helped that team out with great things. They never won a finals, but they got them there. You can make the argument, they were one of the best duos in the league. For that good amount of time. So, so Vince Carter, shooting guard. He's one of the best dunkers of all time, if not the best dunker of all time. What I love about Vince Carter is he realized towards the tail end of his career, he was not able to really dunk as much anymore. So what he did is he was like, you know what? I'm going to develop more of a jump shot. I'm going to develop more of a three-point shot. I'm going to develop kind of that kind of shot, and I'm going to give you my best ability at that point, and that's what really helped him significant in his career. You're going to dunk your whole career. That's what Shaq didn't do. Shaq dunked his whole career. When he got older, he was really not that, he wasn't your ideal go-to. Like, oh, go to Shaq. Your big moment, go to Shaq, right? He wasn't your ideal kind of guy, right? He wasn't that. As a matter of fact, he was probably far from it. So, I'm not trying to down on Shaq here. I'm saying, Shaq didn't develop a mid-range. Shaq didn't develop that. He was really only a dunker. When toward the tail end of his career, when he was getting older, he really didn't have that big vertical anymore. He was like, okay, he was kind of on his own island. Like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Carter, on the other hand, took advantage of it, started working on the jump shot. That one-off season when he didn't have the best dunking year ever. It was, not towards the tail end. It was like in 2008, 2009-ish. When, he wasn't, you still could dunk, but it wasn't like when he was with the Raptors. It wasn't like that big dunk contest with the Raptors. He could still dunk, but, still. Definitely very interesting there for for Vince Carter. So Vince Carter, I don't think this is controversial at all. I think Vince Carter, this is obvious. Vince Carter on the Nets here, shooting guard. Julius Erving, small forward. Small forward. This is the best player to go down in Nets franchise history. Julius Erving. This is a guy you could put in this is a guy that could be in the conversation for greatest of all time. This is a guy that could be in the top 20, top 15. Would I put him there? I don't know. But this is a guy, definitely, you might see some people put him high on their top lists. This is definitely a guy, Julius Erving, that is one of the better basketball players to go down of all time. You can't leave him off your Mount Rushmore. By the way, just a quick thing. I don't put, for the Mount Rushmore, I know I put Jason Kidd and Vince Carter up there first. That's not who I think's the best out of all these players. I just put them in a random order. Like I said, I'm not going to put who I think's the best. I just put them in a random order. Because I do think out of this whole list, Julius Erving's probably the best player out of this whole list. Even though I put him third. I don't put him in order. I kind of just throw him in there. Wherever I find, whatever player I think of, just throw him right in there. So definitely, Julius Erving could do all things. Good rebounder, good blocker, pretty good shooter. When he was with the Nets, when he was in his prime with the Nets, it was unstoppable. He was almost unstoppable at times. He reminded me a lot of, he was a big, lengthy, strong, very good player for Julius Erving. And Dr. J, his good old nickname, Dr. J, as Nets fans, you can really be like, who in the world do you have in your history? You can always go back on Dr. J. There's a lot of sports franchises out there. The Nets being one of them that you don't have a great history. The Nets don't have a great history. You never won an NBA final. The Nets don't have a great history. We don't have the greatest players of all time either. We're not like the Lakers. We're not like the Celtics with, Bill Russell and, all those guys. We're not like then Larry Bird and, all those guys. We're not like that. We're more like, we're more like, we have Jason Kidd, Vince Carter, Julius Erving, but, they're not as good as like a Karl Malone or like a Kareem or like a Kobe or like a Shaq or, even in some cases, we might not have all the great shooters like a Ray Allen, but Julius Erving's always one guy on our list that you can always go back on. Because Jason Kidd, you talk about Jason Kidd on the Nets, some people are like, oh, Jason Kidd, because a lot of people really focus on his end of his career. He was horrible. Vince Carter, everybody talks about Vince Carter on the Raptors. Julius Erving, the Nets. He is the Nets. That is him. The Nets were his team. The Nets is where he stayed for his career. So Julius Erving, small forward, on the next up on the Nets Mount Rushmore. Then we have a guy who not many people might have heard of, but Buck Williams, power forward. You can make the argument this was one of the best rebounding players of all time. Shaq was also up there. Kareem's up there. A lot of great rebounders. Wilt was up there. Very good rebounders. Buck Williams was unreal at rebounding. This was a guy that was the Nets mainly had him, mainly picked him up because of his rebounding ability, because of his vertical, because of the way he was able to get up there and get balls. His offense was good. His defense was good. It was the rebounding. Dennis Rodman, one of the best rebounders of all time. Buck Williams, not many people talk about it. You can make the argument he's one of the best rebounders of all time as well. Watch this guy's highlights. Look at his numbers. His rebounds were absolutely unreal. His rebounding ability, he was the perfect for that team. You had your shooters, you had your defenders, then you had your big rebounder. It was almost like the Bulls. You had your shooters. You had Jordan, you had Pippen, then your defensive player, your rebound, your tough guy, your guy that was taking all the hits for you was Rodman. That's a perfect play you got for your team. That's a perfect thing you got for your team. There's a couple teams that, may not have succeeded that much because of that. For example, the Cavs did not really have that guy. And the Cavs didn't have that guy. The Warriors did. Draymond Green was one of those guys. He was the guy that would be the trash talker, take the hits, grab the rebounds. Cavs didn't really have that guy. Kevin Love, LeBron was good, but, he wouldn't get all up in there in the paint and all that. And I've always praised LeBron on his good defense and offense. I've always praised him on that. I've always said, he's not like some players that, go out there and just, absolutely just lollygag on defense, but, put up 50 on offense. James Harden. But, Buck Williams, one of the better rebounders of all time, in my opinion. Definitely the best rebounder in Nets history. So Buck Williams, the final player on the Nets Mount Rushmore. Then, my honorable mention, Derek Coleman. This is actually a guy that's pretty underrated in Nets history. Not many people would talk about him. I put him here because he was a pretty good offensive player, pretty good defense. I think putting up like 16 points per game. Definitely a good player. And now I put him at the honorable mention because compared to Jason Kidd, Vince Carter, Julius Erving, and Buck Williams, is he better than them? I wouldn't so much say that, but definitely he's up there. He's definitely up there, and I would definitely go ahead and say, for a guy that is, I would definitely go ahead and say, for a guy that is as good as he was pretty underrated. Now, I wouldn't call him an all-time great, but Derek Coleman, he was drafted from the Nets. He started off his career with the Nets, third team All-Pro, and things like that. He wasn't, All-Star. He wasn't anything special, but definitely a guy I would put on the honorable mention. Like I said, it's not very, very difficult to make the Nets Mount Rushmore, and I'm not trying to be mean by saying that. Your core three of the Nets franchise history, of the players that you really look off of in the Nets franchise history is Jason Kidd, Vince Carter, Julius Erving. Then, you got Buck Williams and Derek Coleman there, kind of as a caboose in the back. But definitely all of these players. So this is the Nets Mount Rushmore. Jason Kidd, Vince Carter, Julius Erving, Buck Williams, Derek Coleman. And like I said, I don't think saying Buck Williams is one of the better rebounders of all time is a bad thing. I really do. Look at the stats. Look at the numbers. Look at that. Stats don't lie. Opinions, They don't lie. I mean, stats don't lie. Stats are facts. Opinions are opinions. That could be my opinion, but look at the numbers and you might think so differently as well. I wouldn't say he's better than a Rodman. I wouldn't say he's better than some of these big rebounders. I wouldn't say he's better than Wilt, but he's definitely up there, I would say, in the conversation. More of one of the more underrated players, in my opinion, in the league. So like I said, that is the Nets Mount Rushmore. So that is definitely the Nets Mount Rushmore. And that is what we've got for that part. Now, I guess we can kind of quickly go into the Nets for the training camp for the NFL. So the NFL here, NFL pushes forward, confirms training camps will open July 28th despite confusion. Rookies reported today for some teams. I know Adam Gase for the Jets reported Tuesday, I think last Tuesday. He's been there at Florham Park at the Jets training camp for a little bit, probably doing some work. He's been there. Then you got, I'm sure Joe Judge is probably at the Giants training camp as well. I would say he's probably there as well. Probably a lot of head coaches are at the training camp because they are there first at the training facilities, Florham Park, by MetLife Stadium and all that. They're all there. For the Jets and the Giants, they are there. Rookies, I think, report today, training camp. July 28th, though, is the big day. That's where everybody reports. So, what's that? July 20th? So, Tuesday. Next Tuesday will be it. So, maybe I actually did get confused. Maybe Adam Gase reports Tuesday then. Maybe I thought it was last Tuesday. Maybe it's this Tuesday. Maybe it's, I don't know. But 8 days from now, so that will be Tuesday. Rookies report soon. The NFL doesn't look like it's in a great position. The NFL and the NFLPA in a way are like, they're kind of like with this whole situation. They're with the whole, it's not so much just about, the plan. The MLB was with the plan. It was about the money. It's not about the money. It's about the whole safety protocols is what a lot of people are worried about, I feel like. It's because I think they realize other leagues are still getting cases even though they're putting all these safety protocols in place. And the NFL is probably the most physical sport out there. So one of the most physical sports out there. So, of course, you're going to get some probably more positive cases than the NFL. And some players are like, I want to be safe and stuff, but yet they don't want to wear the visor. So what do you want? They don't want to wear that little face shield. So what do you want? Do you want to just go out there with no face shield and not be safe? Or do you want to be safe and at least go out there with the face shield? Like, I really believe that face shield could be successful. Like, that is blocking everything. It's almost like wearing a mask. Like, it's literally like wearing a mask. So this is football operations to general managers, head coaches. This is the big thing. So at yesterday's league meeting, the membership was advised that under the collective bargaining agreement, their reporting dates for the training camp this year are as follows. Rookies, July 21st. Quarterbacks and injured players, July 23rd. All other players, July 28th. So it looks like quarterbacks and all that will report 3 days from now. Rookies report tomorrow, and all other players report July 28th. So July 28th will be... July 29th, I guess, will be the first full day with everybody in. July 28th, you'll have all the other players report. July 29th will be the first day. I will be covering this a lot here, people, because you got to realize there's a guy on the Jets named Jamal Adams, and we don't know if he's going to hold out this season. We don't know if he's going to play. That would be definitely very odd for everything that went on this offseason with him requesting a trade, him not getting the money, for him to then show up at training camp. That'd be very interesting. In a way, I feel like he's not going to, but in that weird way, I feel like he might just be like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go do it anyway. The dates are what Le'Veon Bell said is promising, is what I should say. Applicable for all clubs other than Houston and Kansas City. So, yeah, Houston, Kansas City will report a little bit. As of now, only 20 players would be allowed in the facility at a time until the NFLPA signs off on the infectious disease emergency response plan for each club. If protocols are met, a grievance could follow, but clubs have the right to set reporting dates. Let's get that out of there. No, not that. Okay, jeez. Whoops. I did not mean to do that. Okay. So, there's a lot of players. There's a lot of players. There's a couple states are also experiencing rises in cases. The Dolphins, the Texans, the Cardinals, all those market areas are rising cases. Arizona, Houston, and Florida are obviously, all experiencing a rise in cases. So that's something you also got to watch for as well. Those guys going to training camp, what if they get infected? Then, it's the problem with the virus. I've said it for a while now. It's not about any one person, I would say. It's just about how fast it spreads. Somebody could get it, then, whoever, Billy Bob Joe could get it, and then they could hand it over to these other random people, and all of a sudden they got it. A guy gets it, then you have to find the other 30 people that he's been in contact with within the past couple of days, and then they get it, and that's why these cases just spike and spike and spike. That's why when you see a spike in cases, the chances of somebody getting it is also likely because more people are getting it, more people are affected. But also, people, you got to realize this: the more people that get it, the more people that get over it and survive from the virus, they will get the antibodies. So they will be safer now, because the antibodies, what it does is if you were to get it again, those would fight it off. So technically, for the people that have the antibodies, they don't really have to worry anymore. I mean, they still gonna have to wear a mask and still be safe and stuff. But they get it. They get it though. The antibodies usually fight it off the same. So that's the thing. That's what the vaccine is for. That's what a vaccine is for. So people can develop the antibodies. So then, if somebody were to get it, the antibodies would just kill it off. So that's the whole deal. That's the whole thing. So. Anyway, so the NFL pushes forward, confirms training camp dates will open July 23rd, July 28th, despite confusion. The two sports that have not had any problems have been the NBA and NHL. And the NBA is a little unorganized, in my opinion, with the whole bubble thing. And the NHL is not talked about that much. Although I will watch probably some of the NHL games on August 1st. And then you have, obviously, now the NFL struggling. But it's almost like, in a way, like the leagues that struggle a little bit almost like to have the most, like the MLB, like they're the first league to come back. How much they were struggling, there was doubt that they were going to even have a season, and now all of a sudden, look at it. So, anyway, that's what I got for the podcast today. Obviously we got through that topic there. But anyway, that's what I've got for today. Tomorrow we'll be back at it again. We got some AJ Green news from the Bengals. We got some more Yankee stuff. I'll be talking about the Yankees-Phillies game since the Mets don't play tomorrow, so I'll be talking about the Yankees-Phillies. I'll do the book again, so I'll come on air and talk about the stats and stuff. Should be a good pod again tomorrow. AJ Green, probably the Yankees game, obviously, and then maybe some whatever other news pops up. I know I have another thing to talk about. I think it's NFL QBs and expectations. So they league, like the multiple sites are coming out with their expectations for second-year rookie quarterbacks. You got Kyler Murray, Drew Lock, all that. I will talk about that maybe tomorrow or one of these days this week. But anyway, so that's what I got for the podcast today. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. If you're around doing really nothing, or you're just around, for Yankees Phillies tonight. So that should be good to watch. Obviously, sports are back on. Live sports are back on. MLB's back on. So Yankees, Phillies tonight. Have a good rest of your day. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.